Welcome back to the channel, chess fans. Today, we're diving into an absolute gem of a puzzle composed by the legendary Paul Morphy way back in 1856, when he was just a young prodigy, around 10 or 12 years old, depending on the source. If you don't know Morphy, he was this brilliant American chess player from New Orleans, born into a wealthy family with a dad who was a lawyer and judge. Get this, no one even taught him chess. He picked it up just by watching his uncle and father play, and then shocked them by pointing out winning moves in their games. He became one of the greatest players ever, known for his aggressive, tactical style. This puzzle isn't from one of his famous games. It's a composition he created, and it's a mate in two that showcases his genius for sacrifices and line-opening ideas. It's perfect for teaching weaker players about deflection, pawn power, and how to trap a king in the corner. Let's break it down step by step, and I'll show you why it's so entertaining and clever. First, let's set the scene on the board. White is to move, and the position looks desperate for black. Their king is huddled in the corner on A8, boxed in by their own pieces. Black's king is right here on A8, with a bishop sitting on B8, a pawn on A7, and another pawn on B7. White has their king boldly placed on C8, close enough to influence things, a pawn on B6 that's eyeing some promotion potential, and a rook all the way down on A1, seemingly out of the action. But oh boy, is that rook about to cause chaos. The black king is basically stalemated already, no safe squares to run to because of its own pieces and the white king's proximity. The setup screams for a tactical explosion, and as a grandmaster, I'd tell any student, look for ways to sacrifice to open lines when the enemy king is this restricted. The brilliant first move for white? Boom, sacrifice that rook to deflect black's defenses. White slides the rook straight up the A-file from A1 to A6. Now it's hanging right here on A6, tempting black to grab it. This isn't check yet because black's own pawn on A7 is blocking the file, but it's a massive threat. It's like offering a shiny gift that comes with a hidden trap, classic Morphy style, teaching us that sometimes you give up material to force open paths for your other pieces. Now, black has very few options, and none of them are good. Let's see what happens if they snatch the bait with their pawn. The pawn from B7 captures on A6, removing the rook. But watch this. Now the B-file is wide open for white's pawn. For the second move, white simply advances the pawn forward, from B6 to B7, and just like that, it's checkmate. Why? This pawn now attacks the black king diagonally on A8, right here like an arrow to the heart. Black's king can't capture it on B7 because that square is attacked by white's own king on C8. Kings attack adjacent squares, including diagonally, so the black king would be stepping into a forbidden zone. And there are no other escapes. The king is cornered by its own bishop on B8, and the pawn now on A6, with no safe spots to flee. The bishop can't help, and that's game over. What a deflection tactic. The rook sacrifice pulled the B7 pawn out of the way, letting the humble pawn deliver the fatal blow. This teaches a huge lesson. Pawns can be mating monsters when lines open up. Okay, rewinding back to after white's rook to A6. What if black doesn't take the rook and instead tries to wriggle out by moving the bishop? Let's say they slide it out of the way to C7, hoping to create some space. But nope, white has a crushing response. The rook captures the pawn on A7, landing on A7 itself, and now it's check, directly attacking the king up the file on A8. Is this mate? Absolutely. The king can't capture back on A7 because that square is protected by white's pawn on B6, which attacks diagonally forward to A7. See that pawn threat arrow? The black king would get gobbled up if it tried. And again, no escape squares. B8 is now empty, but attacked by the white king. B7 has black's own pawn, and everything else is blocked or off the board. The bishop on C7 can't interpose or capture the rook. It's useless here. Mate in two, no matter what. Black's other bishop moves lead to the same fate. White just captures on A7 and ends it. And get this. Black can't even try moving their A7 pawn to capture white's pawn on B6, because that would illegally leave their own king in check from the rook on A6, now with an open file. Talk about being hoist by your own petard. This puzzle is so entertaining because it flips the script. What looks like a quiet position explodes with one bold sacrifice. Morphy was showing us, even as a kid, that chess is about vision and courage. Spot the weak king, sacrifice to disrupt, and let your pieces coordinate for the kill. If you're a beginner, practice these ideas. Look for deflections and pawn advances in your games. What do you think of this one? Drop a comment if you've seen it before or if it tricked you. Smash that like button, subscribe for more chess puzzles and lessons, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep improving, everyone.